Coming up, TechPoint's Mira Awards, honoring the best in tech. This year was a first ever virtual ceremony. TechPoint CEO Mike Langelier is here with highlights from an event that honored 15 standouts, including High Alpha co-founder Christian Anderson, who was the winner of this year's Trailblazer Award. Plus, she spent more than 2 decades in government, also climbing the corporate ladder before creating a new path as an entrepreneur and starting software company Authentics. 2020 Mira Award winner for Rising Entrepreneur Amy Brown shares her secrets to success. And Xylo, a software-as-a-service management platform founded just 4 years ago, already manages more than $12 billion in SaaS spending for companies like Adobe, Nike, Lilly, Salesforce, and Uber. Co-founder and CEO Eric Christopher explains what's next for the 2020 Mira Award winner for Tech Product Scale-Up of the Year. Details on those stories and much more ahead on this edition of Inside Indiana Business. Hello and welcome to Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gary Dick. TechPoint recently honored the successes and the innovation of Indiana entrepreneurs, companies, places, and products during a live webcast of the organization's 21st annual Mira Awards Gala. It's a first ever virtual event. Nearly 130 nominees from throughout the state were up for 15 awards. Over the next 30 minutes, we'll feature several of the big winners. I'm pleased to welcome back to the show now TechPoint CEO Mike Langelier, who will provide some perspective on the virtual event and some of this year's winners. And Mike, as always, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Gary.
Nothing like the Mira Awards in person, okay? Always a packed house, excitement, statewide participation. But I tell you, the virtual event was pretty cool.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
it's a big leap to take what is usually a packed house, 1,400 people, max capacity, and sold out every year, to something that was virtual. But this year, we pulled off a virtual event, 4,000 people that attended. And we started, this whole process starts months ago, where we had 129 nominees for awards. We picked 48 volunteer judges who invested about 850 hours into the judging process to determine who the winners would be. And then ultimately got to the 15 winners that we announced that night, and had winners that literally went from A to Z. Went from Anvil, which is the one that we'll spotlight, HC1, KSM Consulting, who won 2 awards, City of Lawrence, Nextech, Kronos, Woven, Republic Airways, and then Xylo at the end as well.
It's always interesting to see the breadth of the winners and the types of industries and innovation they're involved in, and it's reflective, I think, of how the Indiana tech community and the tech movement continues to evolve.
Yeah, when we looked at the problems that the winners solved, I mean, you look at the roster, they're delivering on the promise of personalized medicine, they're breaking the cycle of crime and poverty, they're preventing injuries and deaths in the workplace, hiring for technical roles while reducing bias, getting customer feedback in healthcare to people who can make change. So you're right, it's across the board, they're solving problems across industries.
Quickly, before we get into our first winner, Trailblazer Award, your big takeaways. You mentioned some there, but as you think about the event.
Yeah, one of them certainly was virtual, doing it virtually. We named a theme of Be Bold far before we knew what coronavirus was. And we leaned into that ourselves to do a virtual event, but we thought what better community to do it than the tech community, and so we were one of the first events to do an awards event virtually. I think one of the other takeaways outside of the scope of problems that these winners were solving, we're in this time of racial injustice that is so paramount right now. And so that was a feature as well, and really acknowledging the fact that the tech community can do more. We need to have more. We need to have more African American individuals in our community, and we need to really aggressively find ways to make that happen. And so that was one of the discussion points.
Very good. Well, let's start with one of the big winners, and that's for the Trailblazer Award, a name familiar to many in the technology community, Christian Anderson. I had a conversation with him earlier this week.
I came to Indiana in 1992 to go to Anderson University, and for the most part, took a little time off to move back to my home state of Arkansas, but in my heart, never left. So after school, I started a design firm called Studio Science, and really from that platform was able to get involved and partner with so many amazing people and help start so many amazing businesses and other initiatives. Lessonly, Tinderbox, which ultimately became Octave, Visible, Pathagility. These are a handful of companies we launched out of the studio with some great partners. And me and my partner, Mike Fitzgerald, started a seed stage venture fund called Gravity Ventures about 10 years ago that went on to raise 6 micro VC funds and got to play a small role in helping kind of start and scale a number of Indiana-based technology companies. And of course, that all culminated about 5 years ago when me and my 3 wonderful partners, Mike, Eric, and Scott, along with a tremendous team, launched High Alpha. And what we seek to do is marry up kind of an operating company that starts new businesses. So think about a company that starts companies with a venture fund. And it has been so much fun. It's been so gratifying. I get to work with some of the smartest people in the country on challenges that mean a lot to me and to the people I work with. We've launched 20 companies since we started in 2015. Those companies have gone on to employ 700-800 people and has attracted really a tremendous amount of capital and maybe more importantly, even attention to what is happening in Indianapolis. I think High Alpha has a spotlight shown on it frequently, but the reality is there are so many people and so many tremendous businesses being built and scaled and funded in our city, and it's fun to play some role in helping shine a light on that.
You are very passionate, really an evangelist for technology and innovation in Indiana, in central Indiana, the entire state. You really feel strongly that Indiana's position in the tech world is a strong one with great potential for growth.
Yeah, absolutely. As I like to say, myself and my 3 partners, we did not start High Alpha in Indianapolis because we happen to have Indiana driver's licenses. We believed that there was a real arbitrage opportunity, a real opportunity to grow and scale and leverage so many of the remarkable indigenous assets in the state, not the least of which is just talent. The sheer volume of highly educated, smart, ambitious people coming out of our state's colleges and universities, the preponderance of large technology companies that have moved to Indianapolis to make that their corporate home, and the talent that attracts from out of state, really created what we thought was the perfect opportunity, really fertile soil to grow and scale the types of businesses that we're launching. Now, I do happen to have an affection for the state that transcends its talent base for sure. But one of the things that really makes the business go is the ability to attract and retain remarkable talent, much of which is from the state.
Hard to overstate Christian's impact on the tech community, not only his involvement in tech companies, but how he preaches about Indiana.
Yeah, he's a remarkable individual who has a vision for seeing potential in things and people, an ability to distill what's special about them, and then a provocativeness to get people to rally behind it, and a boldness to go pursue it in a big way. And there are literally organizations here that wouldn't exist without Christian, and we heard about several of them.
Very good. Mike, you're going to stay with us for the first half hour to offer additional perspectives, so sit right there. Our next Mira Award winner spent more than 20 years serving in government and executive roles. Then she decided to follow her passion to improve the healthcare experience.
I've learned that being an entrepreneur is not a job choice or a career choice. It's something that you must do. And if you don't do it, then you won't have fully lived. And that's really been my journey. And it's been fabulous to start a business in Indianapolis.
TechPoint's Mira Award winner for rising entrepreneur Amy Brown on the evolution of her company, Authentics. That's when we come back. Well, fast-growing tech startup Authentics says it is solving one of the biggest pain points for healthcare companies. that of leveraging customer interactions to provide transformative insights for organizations and other businesses as well. Founder and CEO Amy Brown won the 2020 Mira Award for Rising Entrepreneur, and she explains how she's using her 20 years in government service and executive roles to grow a platform that connects corporate executives with the real voice of customers.
So we at Authentics are on a mission to help humans understand humans, and particularly in the area of healthcare. So what we do is we take in recorded customer interactions. They might be recorded telephone calls, emails, or chats, and we help the healthcare industry discern insights from those conversations. We use those insights to pull through information for all parts of the healthcare enterprise to make better business decisions. And we do that using AI, natural language processing, as well as providing a platform for humans to engage with the voice of their customers.
Been a lot of activity at Authentics, even during the pandemic, as we were chatting just a few moments ago. You've really been able to lean in perhaps a bit more during the pandemic.
Yeah, that's right. So when the pandemic hit, we thought, just like every other business, what can we do to be part of the solution? And we knew that our clients, particularly, because they're in healthcare, they would likely need insights about what customers were saying, thinking about, concerned about relative to coronavirus on their relationship with our clients. And so we added some features to our product that allowed businesses to get really granular insights about customers' concerns relative to coronavirus, which has enabled our clients to respond more quickly and appropriately.
One of the things the judges for the Mira Awards pointed out was they were so impressed by your entrepreneurial journey, some 20 years as an executive in government and healthcare, and really your passion for that space led you to create the company Authentics. Talk about that entrepreneurial journey, if you will.
Yeah, so I've worked in a variety of settings, from small-sized companies to mid-size, up to publicly traded enterprises, and I saw firsthand both the opportunity and oftentimes the missed opportunity that healthcare organizations had. They often store but then ignore the customer conversations that are being had all day, every day. And I just got to a point in my career, I was so grateful for the corporate opportunities I'd had, but I've learned that being an entrepreneur is not a job choice or a career choice. It's something that you must do. And if you don't do it, then you won't have fully lived. And that's really been my journey. And it's been fabulous to start a business in Indianapolis.
Like Amy Brown at Authentics, Mike, proof you don't have to be a 20-something, right, to be in the tech community. You should get great experience in the real world before going on the entrepreneurial trip.
Yeah, I hope that she's such an inspiration for so many people who can help to break that myth, that stereotype that you have to be a 20-something to be a tech entrepreneur. She is a career successful working mom who's boldly taking her first entrepreneurial journey, and it just proves that it's a journey that many can take, and I hope many others will follow. Yeah,
Authentics is a great story, continuing to unfold with some great success. Hang right there, Mike. We're going to continue on with the Mira Awards coming up. The winner for this year's Scale Up of the Year, tech product, Xylo, the Indianapolis-based SaaS powerhouse that serves big-name clients like Lilly, Salesforce, Nike, and Twitter. We catch up with Xylo co-founder and CEO Eric Christopher to learn what's sparking his company's growth. It's time to go inside innovation, brought to you by Allegion, pioneering safety. Well, in 2016, research and advisory company Gartner estimated the SaaS market to be worth about $37 billion. This year, it's expected to surpass $116 billion. Xylo was launched from the High Alpha Venture Studio in 2016. Now, just 4 years after co-founders launched the company from a shared desk, Xylo manages more than $12 billion in active spending. Co-founder and CEO Eric Christopher explains what's next for the 2020 Mira Award winner for Tech Product Scale Up of the Year.
We have a great team, a great set of customers, and we set out with a plan, that started on a, kind of a two-sheeter business plan, and we've been just working heads down and, focused towards that. And so we've had 3 rounds of funding and, over 100 enterprise customers. It's been kind of a wild ride.
Yeah, Eric, what's really, in your view, fueled that success in the SaaS management software space? What is special about Xylo that folks are connecting with?
Yeah, well, in general, we're in some interesting times right now where a lot of companies need solutions to be able to enable a remote workforce, as an example. But the SaaS explosion, since we started the business, it has more than doubled in spend for companies that are buying software. And so we've really been fortunate to time the market where companies are buying more software and they need something like Xylo in place to help them manage that growing expense. So the timing's been very fortunate for us.
And during the COVID-19 pandemic period, so challenging for so many companies, and so many companies really laser focused on cost, and that, you say, has been really a benefit to Xylo.
It absolutely has. We're not immune, like most companies, where we sell an enterprise product, so there's slower decisions and things like that. But one of the most important priorities for companies right now is to manage costs. And subscriptions by nature are a cost that continues to grow. And so it's very important that CFOs and CIOs have plans in place to be able to manage it. And so they look to us as a partner to manage that.
What's next? As you look at the future and growth opportunities here in Indianapolis and beyond, where do you see the real opportunities?
We've continued to focus on the United States, kind of selling domestically. I could see us in the next year starting to focus more internationally. We have now customers in Australia, in Sweden, in the UK, and so we're starting to have a demand for supporting those customers and build a market. So I could see international expansion being a big priority for us.
Mike Xylo, big market potential, also helping shine a light on Indiana.
Yeah, I'll just spotlight 2 things. One of them is we love to see scale-up companies like this that are our next generation of potential successes that are chasing big market opportunities, growing market opportunities. And so to have Xylo a winner in this category is significant for their future. And so that's something that's exciting to see. The other thing, we've seen the byproduct of they've raised a significant amount of venture capital from some of the biggest names in the business that are a lot of coastal VCs. And I think that's caused some of them to come and invest here and spend time here for the first time. And so that level of visibility we love to see from new investors and new customers that helps to bring further validity to this market.
Yep. Good news from Xylo. Well, coming up next, the TechPoint Mirror Award winner for Innovation of the Year goes to Fishers-based Anvil. It's a startup focused on bringing workplace safety into the world of high tech. Anvil co-founder and CEO Robin Fleming joins us to explain when we return. Well, Anvil is a spinoff of Indianapolis-based venture studio High Alpha and is this year's Mirror Award winner for Innovation of the Year. The Fishers-based software company helps companies predict and prevent workplace-related injuries. Anvil's technology allows data to be sent directly from the field or factory floor to identify potential threats on the job. Co-founder and CEO Robin Fleming explains why it was time to change an industry that she says has seen little change in some 50 years.
For us, when you talk about the industry not changing, there's lots of technology in place, but despite all of that technology, the frontline workers still often uses paper processes in forms multiple times every day. So that was really the genesis for us, is to take that whole concept of paper, put something more innovative in the hands of the worker that helps not only capture data, but really provide them with a guided experience in the moment. So that's what Anvil is all about. And then ultimately, it's about the data that we get out of that, which is tremendous to provide insights and guidance for companies to improve.
Robin, tell us how Anvil works.
You think about those companies with those paper forms and processes, they don't often have a smart way to transform those into something that they could put in the hands of the frontline worker. So that's what we do. We help them really with digital transformation to take those forms, to convert those into smart digital workflows that embed their safety business process. So the worker has a complete menu, if you will, of all the processes that they use in one simple application that we manage and maintain. And then they have that guided workflow that has unique things such as intervening at the moment where work occurs and also stopping jobs, which is ultimately important to give that worker truly a voice in the moment.
Robin, you talk, obviously there are very natural applications in the manufacturing sector, but you really say you can touch any number of industries with this product.
Right. We've kept ourselves very industry agnostic. So while we have lots of different templates available today to get companies started, those templates really are fairly broad for safety. You could think about pre-work assessments. That applies to manufacturing. It applies to energy. It applies to construction, logistics. Anywhere there's a frontline worker or a frontline supervisor or manager that's still dealing with, clipboards of paper forms and processes, we can help them not only provide a guided experience, but also actually help them be more productive.
Anvil, really an interesting story and an example of technology connecting directly with the corporate world.
Mm-hmm. What I love about this story is you have a seasoned technology executive in Robin whose career spans from a Primo and Angie's List, and now in working with High Alpha have identified a problem from one of our local corporates. Actually, Cummins was the first customer and kind of the genesis of this problem. And I believe that there are probably lots of other corporate leaders in our community that are experiencing challenges or opportunities in their industries, and that by bringing our tech community, our startup community together with those corporations, we could identify many more Anvils and be able to further the growth here.
Well, Mike, the Mira Awards virtual event this year, another great success, but also you continue to look forward. I thought it was great in your Zoom room. You had some interesting guests from a new initiative, the SOS program, right? One
of the groups of people impacted by COVID were interns. Yeah. So in the workforce narrative, there were tens of thousands of college students that lost their internship this summer. For many of them, this was their one opportunity to get work experience and to get resume credentials that they could carry forward into a job. And we said, how could we help? And so we crafted a challenge that sort of recreated an internship in a virtual format. And over a 5-week challenge, we're going to enable those students to earn some money, to get some real work experience, and then to be able to network with professionals in our community. And so we got 500 students. We created opportunities for 500 students. We got 200 industry coaches from our community who stepped up. And these teams of students are working on real industry challenges that are impacted by COVID. And it's really cool to see the opportunity to create these opportunities for these students. And so we spotlighted them at the Mira Awards, and they came in and showed their excitement in the Zoom room.
TechPoint CEO Michael Angelier, thanks for joining us. Congratulations on another great event, an event that really, I think, does once again showcase the vibrancy of the Indiana technology community. Stay with us for our next half hour.
Unroll the cover onto the bed with the light side down. Do not allow the top gray fabric to touch the mattress surface.
Well, the pandemic is taking cleaning and sterilization processes to a much higher level at hospitals and healthcare facilities, and a Batesville-based startup says its product is getting more attention as a result. Trinity Guardian makes mattress barriers that it says protects patients from hospital-acquired infections, and Business of Health reporter Kylie Valletta has more. Kylie.
Thank you, Gary. In 2019, a nonprofit institute named healthcare mattresses number 2 on a top 10 list of health tech hazards. Trinity Guardian says its mattress barriers are already being used at 16 hospitals, including 5 major academic centers, and a client close to home, the Indiana Spine Institute. Throughout the pandemic, hospitals have been laser focused on keeping patient rooms as clean and sterile as possible, and Trinity Guardian believes its mattress barriers are part of the solution. Chairman and Chief Executive Officer Bruce Rippey joins me now to tell us how the coronavirus is creating traction for the company. Bruce, thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you, Kylie.
So hospital mattresses, they typically have a vinyl-like shell that can't be removed. So between patients, the industry standard is to wipe down the mattress and the bed deck with disinfectants. Tell us about your mattress barriers and how the process is different.
So that's a great question. The hospital mattresses were vinyl at one point, up until about 25 or 30 years ago. And then they became polyurethane. And what's happened is they've gone from being a hard non-porous surface to a soft porous surface. And as a result, they've become much more difficult to clean and disinfect. And because there's no hard surface, or there's no soft surface disinfectants available in the market for to use. So our product replaces the cleaning and disinfection process that hospitals use by using a launderable barrier cover between patients. And so the product is comes from the laundry. It's in a sterile pack. It's applied to the bed, and after the patient is discharged to go back home, the cover is removed and sent out to the laundry. Bacteria can survive on surfaces from a few hours to 6 months. Things like bacteria like C. diff can survive on surfaces for a long period of time because they can turn into spores and just vegetate there for up to 6 months.
Right, so getting them clean is important. And like you said, yours goes through a laundry process versus just being wiped down. So your company just completed a study that looked at some of the major organisms involved in hospital-acquired infections. Tell us about the results of that study.
So what we did is applied in excess of 10 million C. diff spores onto one of our mattress covers, as well as various other pathogens, and we let them dry and then laundered them using our process, and it resulted in a 99.99999% reduction of those microorganisms on the surface. And that's really important because the current process hospitals use today only kills about 70% of the bacteria that's on the surface. So it's far more effective in creating a safer patient surface than you can get through a manual disinfection process that hospitals typically use today.
And so your study didn't look specifically at the coronavirus, but as you know, because of COVID-19, there's a much bigger focus on keeping hospital rooms sterile and clean right now. But what correlation can you draw between hospital-acquired infections and the coronavirus with regard to your mattress barriers?
So while we didn't look at COVID, as you mentioned, the issues are very similar to other bacteria and other that cause hospital-acquired infections. COVID can be transmitted between patients in a hospital. Patients coming into contact with surfaces that have the virus on it can pick up those viruses and get COVID. Not only in the hospital, but in a variety of other areas. So having a cleaner surface than you can get using a manual disinfection process is very important. The CDC has said that hospitals should look for cleaning and disinfection processes for their rooms that mirror processes that they would typically use for C. diff. So our process, our laundry process, resembles very closely what the CDC has prescribed for laundering linens that have known COVID patients on them.
So we have just a few seconds left, Bruce, but your startup is in Batesville, which of course, home to Hill-Rom, legacy there, making hospital beds. How did that heritage help give birth to your startup?
So Batesville has been the home of some major hospital furnishings manufacturers for the last 100 years. And there's a rich heritage of that in this town. There's a number of other healthcare device manufacturers in Batesville that make beds and mattresses. And so it's rich with talent for making these types of devices, which really brought a lot of expertise to our company to get this product started.
All right. Well, Bruce, good luck moving your product forward. Thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you.
And Gary, back to you.
All right, Kylie, thank you. Well, this week, the vice president of Odin-based Artisan Electronics said a successful partnership with the U.S. Navy led to the company's decision to grow its southern Indiana headquarters. Artisan provides engineering, IT, and cybersecurity support services for the U.S. Department of Defense and announced this week it is investing $350,000 to grow its Davis County operations and add up to 20 jobs over 2 years. Greg Sapp says the company will double down on its presence at the Westgate Technology Park, invest in equipment and software upgrades, and add extra training opportunities. Artisan also says it expects a couple of new contracts for the Navy and Marine Corps. It could mean additional jobs there. Well, a new leader takes the reins at one of Indiana's oldest colleges. Incoming Wabash College president Scott Feller joins us to share his rise through the ranks, his vision for the school, and the challenges of taking over during a pandemic. And a new leader takes the wheel at longtime but little-known association that monitors safety and performance in the motorsports industry. Bill Benner goes one-on-one with International Council of Motorsports Sciences Executive Director Tom Weisenbach inside Indiana Sports. Student-focused. That's how many of his peers in higher education describe Wabash College's new president, Scott Feller. He joined the liberal arts college in 1998 as a chemistry professor, worked his way up to dean, and will next week begin serving as the college's 17th president. Feller has big plans for Wabash, including making it a model for small colleges around the country. And he joins us now from his office in Crawfordsville. And Scott, congratulations on the move, and thanks for joining us on the show.
Oh, thanks very much for having me.
As I mentioned, you're no stranger to Wabash, serving in the chemistry department there beginning in 1998. Talk about your vision for the schools. Again, as I mentioned in the intro, wanting to make Wabash really a model for small colleges around the country.
Yeah, at Wabash, one of the things we're focused on fairly intently is our 200th anniversary, which is going to be here in 2032. It's a great milestone for the college. It gives us a great point to move towards, but certainly we want to be a model for a financially sustainable liberal arts college that provides an elite education that remains accessible to a wide range of students.
Well, you talk about accessibility, and for higher education at all levels, affordability certainly is a major issue, and higher education in general facing challenges. As you look at the landscape for higher education, your thoughts on addressing some of those challenges?
Yeah, there are big challenges out there. I think, cost is one of them. We like to focus here on value. We want to make sure that students receive the value for what they invest in their education. That's why we're very proud of the results our students have. Last 2 years, 100% of them placed within 6 months of graduation. Even in the COVID economy, we're already well ahead of other schools' 6-month placement rate on the day we graduated. So we've got to keep costs down, but we also have to remind people it's a tremendous investment, one that pays off really well for young men who come to Wabash College.
And certainly Wabash, one of the great examples of the excellence in higher education around the state of Indiana. You mentioned COVID-19. Certainly, I know you're excited to take on this new role, but Boy, the challenges faced in taking on this new role during the pandemic. Talk about efforts underway at Wabash to bring students back on campus and plans to do that.
Yeah, the COVID-19 crisis has been, that's a punch in the gut for a place that's built on face-to-face interactions and strong relationships between students and faculty and between students. So, I'm hearing from a lot of people. They're very anxious to be back here in the fall. So we're adapting our procedures and processes at this college literally from A to Z. To reflect the best expertise that we have from public health officials. So our classrooms will be, students will be spread out farther, lots of changes in the dining facilities. All the residence hall bedrooms have been torn apart and are being reconfigured in new formats that are safe for students. And there'll just be a number of changes, but I think at the end of the day, people will be here with an excellent education and establishing great relationships, which is really what they crave at a moment like this.
A lot of things going on. You mentioned the 200th birthday of the college, some changes on campus, including a new football stadium, right?
Yeah, we've been broke ground on a new stadium, and we've been lucky that the construction has not been impacted at all by the COVID crisis. So we're still on track to open that football stadium in early September. And while there's a lot of uncertainty around college athletics right now, it's certainly our hope that we'll be able to host visitors in the new stadium yet this fall.
Scott Feller, the incoming president of Wabash College, actually the first president to come from the faculty ranks in some 65 years there. Scott, I really appreciate you taking the time to join us this week and look forward to talking with you many more times in the years ahead.
I'll be glad to come back anytime. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Well, this week, Smart Asset ranked the Indianapolis metro area among the best places to work in tech. The personal finance technology firm says the list was compiled based on metrics including percentage of workers employed in tech, the average salary for tech workers, and cost of living. The Indy metro area, which is identified as Indianapolis, Carmel, Anderson, ranks number 21 on that list. The Orlando metro area tops the rankings, followed by Seattle, Raleigh-Durham, Dallas-Fort Worth, and Charlotte. Indy was not ranked on last year's list. Up next, a key component of the motorsports industry, safety and performance.
Oh, big spin. Chase Elliott, and everybody scatters.
The International Council of Motorsports Science is working to make racing safer. The group has a new leader and a new plan on how to do it. That story when we come back. Plus,
I'm Mary Rachel Redmond, and I'll tell you how a new partnership is set to boost the sports tourism industry statewide. I'll have more on that coming up.
Wow, did John get over close to the wall? And how about a 383? And how about 337 miles an hour?
Well, racing may be perhaps one of the most dangerous jobs around. An association with Indiana roots and a global reach is on a mission to make motorsports safer by getting the medical industry, scientists, and race teams all on the same page. Bill Benner has more inside Indiana sports on a big hire, a new leader for the organization. Bill.
Gary, thanks. And with new ideas, new energy, new leadership, and a new home in Indianapolis, the International Council of Motorsports Science will be looking to grow its profile and advance safety platforms. And joining me today is its new executive director, Tom Weisenbach, an Indianapolis native with a long and varied background in motorsports. And Tom, we welcome you to the program, and it's great seeing your face via a distance. For those who don't know outside of auto racing, give us a primer on what the International Council of Motorsports Science is.
Well, the ICMS was actually founded, Bill, back in 1988 by about 6 individuals, including a couple really folks that probably a lot of the community of Indianapolis are familiar with. Sam Odell, who at the time was administrator at Methodist Hospital, was one of the founding members, along with Dr. Terry Trammell, who was a world-renowned orthopedic surgeon based out, lives out in Pittsburgh, Indiana, that, did a tremendous amount of surgeries at Methodist Hospital and Ortho Indy, and then also Dr. Steve Olvey, Dr. Olby and Dr. Trammell both were involved with Champ Car and IndyCar for probably the last 35 years, and the Indianapolis 500 for the last 35 years, as some of their on-track medical support team, and again, did surgeries on drivers from all over the world. So again, great group of professionals with an incredible mission, and now it's my, I guess, job to take it to the next level.
Well, and I think a lot of people might think, well, it's all about IndyCar, or it's about NASCAR, or maybe the NHRA, but this is an organization that really covers all forms of motorsport.
Absolutely. You know, actually, Dr. Rob Seal, our chairman of the boards out of Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. We've got membership, board members down in Australia. We literally have, I think, just about every continent covered with membership and board members. And again, we're involved with the FIA, who's heavily engaged with Formula One. So again, if we look at this, probably the one area that we haven't touched is grassroots. And I think a lot of the reason for that is grassroots racing doesn't have really a set group of medical professionals that follow them around and provide at-track care in case of an accident. So we're going to work on that, see how we can maybe continue to again push what research and education we have available, even into the grassroots racer. But we're very involved. NASCAR is a big partner of ours. IndyCar has been a huge partner of ours for years. NHRA is involved, and again, Formula One. But we looked really to expand that even more with really the new. I just think the new game plan that we're putting in place.
And Tom, we're talking about frontline medical personnel. These are the kind of people that saved Hinchcliffe's life, for example.
Absolutely. We're talking surgeons. You know, Dr. Steele, our chairman of our board, is, again, he's out of Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. He heads up a whole Canadian group of medical personnel that works with the IndyCar race out in Edmonton. He's working with Formula One on several events this year, but he's an anesthesiologist. He's a pediatric cardiac anesthesiologist, and he is an expert in that area. He just has an incredible passion for motorsports. But we have, again, surgeons, really every type of surgeon possible, whether it's spine, whether it's feet and ankles. You know, Dr. Trammell has put together so many people's ankles and feet after they got them messed up in accidents as they hit the wall. We have neurosurgeons. We have nurses. We have paramedics. We have EMTs. We have, again, a lot of track safety workers who are those first responders at a track when there's an accident. In our group, it's made up a lot of scientists and educators as well, and they're constantly doing research on how we can do things better for the drivers and those who get injured at a track. And I think that's a big mission of ours, is always continue to find ways to make it even better for those that might need our services.
And Tom, as we wrap up quickly, I mean, coming back, it's been based in Texas, now coming back to its home in Indianapolis, and obviously Indianapolis being Indianapolis, this will probably, I would guess, be of a tremendous benefit to the organization.
Well, it's the motorsports capital of the world, right? We've always said that with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and we're honored to have the ICMS back in Indy, where I'm based out of, so that's great. We're heavily involved with the PRI show, which is obviously, again, in Indianapolis during December at the Convention Center and Lucas Oil Stadium. So we're excited, again, to be back home again in Indiana with the ICMS.
Well, Tom, thanks for joining us on the show, and we look forward to seeing you very soon. Gary, back to you.
All right, Bill, thanks very much, Tom. Certainly one of the great guys in motorsports, that's for sure. Well, now that Major League Baseball has agreed to return to the field in July, what about minor league baseball? For 3 months, the minor league ballparks in Indianapolis, Fort Wayne, and South Bend have really sat empty. Single-A clubs like the Fort Wayne Tin Caps, the South Bend Cubs rely heavily on ticket purchases to cover operating costs. So does Triple-A Indianapolis Indians. Now, these leagues typically play a full 140-game schedule, which runs from the first week of April through the first week of September. Now at the halfway point, experts wonder if we'll see any action at all at minor league parks. A lot of questions, even as Major League Baseball back to business. University of Notre Dame finance professor Richard Sheehan says small businesses, no matter what the industry, they really have to worry about mitigating risk. The closures in minor league parks now have less to do, he says, with the healthcare crisis and more to do about Major League Baseball, which dictates how the minor leagues operate. Well, meantime, the Indiana Sports Corporation bolstering its statewide sports tourism efforts by assuming leadership of Sports Indiana, formerly a not-for-profit association for Hoosier sports tourism representatives throughout Indiana. The newly formed partnership is called Team Indiana, and Around Indiana reporter Mary Rachel Redmond has details.
The Indiana Sports Corp was the very first organization of its kind in the country. Founded in 1979, its name recognition alone grabs the attention of some of the biggest sporting events in the world. From the 1987 Pan Am Games to hosting the 2012 Super Bowl and the upcoming NBA All-Star Game in 2021. Which will all help lend itself to luring a wide variety of sporting events to smaller communities outside of Indianapolis. And that's precisely what ISC plans to do with the formation of Team Indiana.
It's an opportunity for the state to become even more aggressive in attracting sports tourism to the state. You know, Sports Indiana was formed in 2008 really as an independent association designed to kind of elevate the nature of sports tourism. But as time has evolved and that industry has changed and grown, the needs are changing and growing. And so for Indiana Sports Corp, it's a great opportunity to take our expertise, take our relationships, take our infrastructure, and really help the entire state by leading this new effort.
The 22 member destinations that now make up Team Indiana range from Fort Wayne to Evansville. Last year, under the Sports Indiana name, these same members contributed nearly $20 million to the Hoosier economy.
I think now that we're aligning with ISC in a much different way, it gives us the means and the opportunity to kind of really reset the organization and launch forward as we look at the future. ISC is one of the first sports commissions in the country. That brings a lot of credibility that we can then now leverage and take throughout the state.
Through this new partnership, Team Indiana is hoping to give even more communities an opportunity to tap into a billion-dollar industry.
We're looking at doing a lot of NCAA championships, ASA softball events, but they are all tourism drivers for the state. So they all bring people into the state, they stay overnight, they go and eat in our hotels, they buy gas and all those different things. So they're economic generators just like the Super Bowls and the Final Fours, just at a different scale.
Indianapolis alone will generate upwards of $350 million in 2021. And through Team Indiana, ISC hopes to build awareness of the economic impact sports tourism has on Indiana's economy and the potential to build on that moving forward.
By launching Team Indiana and having a national presence led by Indiana Sports Corp, we can hopefully attract more events to come. We can represent more communities when we're at these conferences or when we're dealing with some of the relationships we have across the country with the Olympic organizations or the NCAA. We've had pretty tremendous impact as an association, but I think we could take it to the next level now.
Mary Rachel Redmond, Inside Indiana Business.
Here's what's happening around Indiana. The University of Notre Dame is providing additional information regarding the university's financial outlook. The university is projecting a revenue shortfall of $44 million for its current fiscal year ending June 30. In an open letter, President Reverend John Jenkins said while the university will enact measures including the freezing of staff hiring, stopping or postponing capital projects, and eliminating university-sponsored travel and non-essential spending, for the upcoming fiscal year beginning July 1, Notre Dame currently projecting a revenue shortfall in excess of $100 million. Well, Quaffon Brewing Company in Nashville is planning to relocate and build a new 20,000 square foot brewery at Hard Truth Hills in Brown County. The brewery says the decision is a result of increased product demand and company growth. Quaffon says the brewery will be built north of the distillery on Hard Truth Hills' 325-acre property. The new facility is expected to double brewing production and will add about 6 brewing company staff. The Economic Development Coalition of Southwest Indiana has created a low-interest loan program to help local small businesses continue to operate during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Grow Local Lending Fund is designed for businesses that may not have been eligible for other federal loan programs and are located within Gibson, Posey, Vanderburgh, or Warwick counties. The coalition says loans will range between $5,000 and $7,500 and can be used for working capital, continued operational expenses, or to support remote work expenses. And I'll be right back after this. Stay with us. Coming up next week, the newly created Indiana Destination Development Corporation set to launch in the week ahead. IDDC Secretary and CEO Elaine Beadle shares her vision for the agency and how it should help Indiana attract new talent and enhance the state's profile as a destination. Plus, AgriNovus Indiana's new leader about to start his new role. We'll talk with Mitch Frazier about what he has planned for the state's growing ag bioscience sector. Thanks for joining us this week. I'm Gary Dick. Go out and make it a successful week.
Inside Indiana Business with Gary Dick is a production of Grow Indiana Media Ventures with support from WFYI Productions.